property owner could potentially receive a credit on your stormwater fee of up to 25%. Different ways to do it, such as using the stormwater control measures that we talked about. Or if you live in an HOA, I assume most of you don't, you could also get the credit for a subdivision's existing stormwater basin. We do have some flyers about this if you want to know some more, but what I'm curious about is, were you, before me just mentioning this, were you aware of this fee reduction credit? Okay. Was anyone aware of it? Okay.
Paperwork's been sitting on my desk for a year.
Okay.
It's just like, paperwork, more forms.
Gotcha.
This is even going to work.
Okay. So some general, and Julie, it sounds like you were maybe aware of it?
Just recently.
Okay.
Like last month or so.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so okay, so
I was aware of it too.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
But I kind of work in the field.
unreachable for me, so.
okay, unreachable in the sense that it would,
I didn't think I could have any of those things that would qualify me for credit.
okay, but it sounds like most of the room, majority of the room was aware of the credit, but hasn't taken action. Okay, and then did you all find out about through flyers, or how did you find out about this?
Mine was when it started.
Okay.
I remember that.
Okay,
And
and just to
also
clarify,
the cost, I have to say the cost of the fee is not very big.
right,
So there's not much motivate. I mean, not that I want it to raise, but it's not a motivator. I wouldn't save that much money.
right.
So I think I would do it for other reasons.
Did at first just ask, how did you find out about it? Was it something that you just looked on the bill, or did you?
I scheduled a meeting to talk about retention ponds. So I work for CDC and do like land use work. So I just was kind of curious, how do we do this? And then that came up in the meeting, and so our conversation shifted to like, how do we get lots of people in the neighborhood to do this like collectively? And so that was like a shift in the conversation, which I thought was pretty interesting. But it definitely got my attention, and I would have probably not known about it if I hadn't just randomly reached out, in this case, to West Creek Conservancy.
Okay.
I just want to say something. I meant to say it earlier about the West Creek Conservancy. I live in a neighborhood where one of the branches of Big Creek has been remediated. The concrete has been removed. It's Bel Air north to Lorraine Avenue. And that concerns me because I'm thrilled. I take people by it to see it because it's beautiful now. But the wildlife has now come through our neighborhood. So I've lived there 30 years, and suddenly I have deer and raccoons, and mostly deer is a concern because this is a populated neighborhood. But the effects of some of these remedial things go a little bit further than just my own yard, and I never hear conversations about that, even with West Creek. And like, did they know that suddenly we're going to have these herds of deer coming north to Lorraine Avenue and 117th? I mean, now there are deer crossing signs on 117th. So I know it's not exactly water related, but it is part of what you're talking about. And how does it affect the whole environment, not just water quality or water
unintended consequences?
Yeah.
Do you feel some hesitance about some of these practices, that they may have some unintended consequences?
Maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there are.
Okay.
There are probably people out there who know about that. But also, where do you go then if you're concerned about that? The sewer district? I doubt it. I mean, I can't even get them to answer the phone. So, yeah, where do you go for that kind of information?
Sounds like you'd like some information and maybe communication about it. Okay.
Especially if there are bigger projects, even the big sewer district projects, like this massive tunnel they're building for diversion of sewage, right? What is that doing to the ground around it or the neighborhood around it? Or I've seen pictures of it. I've read stuff about it, but I don't know. What's it doing to the rest of the world?
Yeah, those are good points. And I don't want to steer away from it, but I want to since we were talking about this fee, and I just want, Isaac, it sounds like you don't directly pay it, but others of you, are you aware of what it is? If I asked you, would you be able to answer within the cost of a cup of coffee what the fee is for the stormwater particularly? Anyone know?
I feel like it's not more than $20 or $30.
Okay.
For some reason, I'm thinking like $8.
I
Okay.
thought it was $8.95.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Okay.
something small.
Something like that.
Okay.
With the potential to increase over time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just hard for me to recall because there's multiple things listed on the
Yeah,
water.
sure.
Yeah.
It's sewer bill, I
Yeah.
think.
I'm not
More on
going
the
to.
water than on the sewer.
I'm not going to quiz you about your cell phone fees later. I
Yeah.
think anyone
Those are a lot easier.
Yeah.
Those are a lot easier to find out.
Okay.
And just as an aside to like the rate to find information, when I was trying to look up the application to fill out for the reduction, like the links were broken online,
Okay.
and I saw how many pages there was and what I had to submit, and it's like, this is never going to be worth my time.
Okay. So were you just considering installing a practice to get the reduction, or had you already installed the practice that you were looking to get the?
I just wanted a rain barrel, so I went to
Yeah.
one of the Cleveland workshops to get my free rain barrel, and then I mentioned there's a paperwork, there's like an application online,
Okay.
and I looked for it.
And then at that point, it was like, this is too much to deal with.
Yeah, and I only have one, because you need multiple
Okay.
options, and don't you need like 50% of your
Yeah.
roof
The
runoff
formula,
captured?
oh my God.
I
Okay.
think? And this is not worth
High barrier
My
to
time.
entry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone else gone through this process where they were discouraged or?
That's how I felt about it.
Okay.
I've explored it.
Yeah.
Again, for professional reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's probably easier to build a house.
It was a lot easier
I don't
to
know
do
what
than
the
85.
paperwork.
Okay.
Like my grandmother up to people that had tried it said, you know, they waited over a year and they never heard back, so they were disgusted.
Wow.
And then it's what, $3 a month, $3 a month.
Right.
I mean,
Maximum,
even to buy,
maximum of
even to
25%.
buy that, let's say you just bought a rain barrel. So what is it,
You
like
wouldn't recoup it for
$40 or
30
whatever,
years.
would you, yeah, your return on investment is very
Okay.
low, and what, you're gonna collect 55 gallons. And like 10,000 falls on your roof. There's
Okay.
just a lot of.
Okay. So that's great feedback. Thanks. It sounds like, yeah.
One question that Brooke was talking about the industrial and commercial. What are the options for them? I mean, and I don't even know.
And he's encouraging them to change.
Right.
Like we put rain barrels in it or a rain garden or whatever, but what are the options for those swaths of industrial areas in all of our neighborhoods?
Well, there are a lot of, there are different options. Some of them
Yeah.
are like larger scales of this. I think for our discussion, we have some materials that may address that at the end. I think for this discussion, kind of more focused on residential. So if you don't, I don't mean to cut off, but I think I might, I want to ask some things about, pivot a little bit towards technical assistance and what you all might find useful, because I think I heard from many of you that you were looking for some assistance. How do you guys feel about kind of online how-to videos, like YouTube videos? Is that something that you might use? Maybe not, potentially. Yeah, you said?
I'm a millennial.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Not for big projects.
Okay.
Not for big
Yeah.
scale.
Okay.
I would watch them, but I'd be like,
I
this
need
is
help
not a
to do this.
do-it-yourself project
Okay.
for me.
Or
right?
a helper, or, you
Yeah.
know, who can I hire to help me do it?
Well, the other thing is, I can't believe there's not an eco-friendly contractor,
Okay,
and everybody I've looked at, they're not eco-friendly at all.
okay,
Where they say
So-
they are, and
Yeah.
then you find out where they put the stuff.
Right.
Or
Okay.
have some level of standardized certification for
Okay.
some of these practices, right, that have gone through
sure.
and commit to, following some of these requirements. Because they can say, oh yeah, we'll
Right.
install this for you, but without really understanding if they're going to install it properly.
So maybe a certified contractor perhaps, okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes the things are supposed to be so simple, like, well, here's your rain barrel to do it. They don't tell you you're going to go through, break 3 hacksaws before you
Yeah.
slice your gutter open.
Yeah, I think that's important that you can, like, all these things are stimulating sort of the demand, but also the supply. Like, the cultural shift has to be on the supply of contractors. materials, education as well. So
Good
need to
point.
attack from both sides.
Good point. How about